Hi, everybody. I am Kalaiva Nivetivil from SNS College of Pharmacy, working as an assistant professor. Today, we can see about biomolecules. The human body is composed of roughly 30 trillion cells that collectively perform the essential functions of life. The cells can perform these life sustaining tasks with the help of several organic molecules present in them. These organic molecules are referred to as biomolecules. The biomolecules have a wide range of size and structures, and they are involved in a vast array of life functions. They are composed of more than 25 naturally occurring elements, with the primary elements being carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. Carbon compounds have major involvement in the formation of biomolecules. They covalently bind with other elements to form several other compounds. Some biomolecules are considered derivatives of hydrocarbons. They are formed by replacing hydrogen atoms from functional groups like alcohols, amines, aldehydes, ketones, and carboxylic groups. So given below is a list of small biomolecules and the macromolecules that were formed after the polymerization of these smaller monomer units. Small biomolecules or macromolecules are sugars, carbohydrates, fatty acids, fats or lipids, amino acids, proteins, nucleotides, nucleic acids. This article briefly explains the major biomolecules and the functions they perform in our bodies. Four major types of biomolecules are up to 10,000 to 1 lakh molecules are present in the cell to regulate bodily function, but the four major types of biomolecules include carbohydrates, lipids, nucleic acids, and proteins. Most of the other compounds are derivatives of these major primary compounds. Every biomolecule has its characteristics and is designated to perform some specific functions essentially for life. So let's see what are they are all about. Carbohydrates are a vital part of a healthy diet. They provide the energy required to do work scientifically. It's a polyhydroxyaldehyde or polyhydroxyketone. Carbohydrates are the most abundant biomolecule on earth. Types of carbohydrates and their functions are depending on the number of products formed after hydrolysis. Carbohydrates are classified into three groups. They are monosaccharides. These composed of a single unit of polyhydroxyaldehyde or ketone, and examples include glucose, fructose, ribose, and arabinose. Disaccharides are composed of two units of sugars joined by glycosidic bonds, and these examples are about glycans, and they are of two types, homopolysaccharides and structural polysaccharides. And coming to the next one, structures of the carbohydrates, they include primary structure, tertiary structure, and quaternary structure. And what are the proteins? Let's see about the protein. Proteins are essential components of organisms. It participates in almost every process. And while going to before carbohydrates, let's see some of the other examples of carbohydrates or cellobiose, glucose, gentibiose. These which are present on sucrose, galactose, and these are also means getting to our body through energy sources of animal energy sources, product of photosynthesis, and through carbohydrate metabolism, etc. So protein. So coming to the proteins are essential components of organisms. It participates in almost every process within cells. It is involved in the process of DNA replication, cell signaling, catalyzing metabolic reactions, constructions of cell and tissue structures, and transportation of molecules from one place to another. Given below are 8 groups of proteins that are categorized based on their functional properties: structural proteins, enzymes, hormones, and respiratory pigments, transport proteins, motor proteins, storage proteins, toxins, and finally uh, these proteins, see, like the enzymes or globular conjugated proteins that are also known as biological catalysts, and structural proteins. These proteins are fibrous proteins that are tough and insoluble in water. They form the structural component of connective tissue, bones, tendons, cartilages, etc. And what about the hormones? These are long polypeptides composed of long chains of linked amino acids. They play critical roles in regulating the physiological process of the body. These processes include reproduction, growth, and development, electrolyte balance, sleep, etc. And some examples of these hormones are growth hormone, And respiratory pigments, these are globular protein pigments that are usually soluble in water. Examples include myoglobin, which provides oxygen to the working muscles, and hemoglobin, which transfer blood to all the tissues and organs. Uh, through transport proteins, these are structural components of the cell membrane, and they form channels in plasma membrane to transfer selective molecules inside the cells of them. Also form components of blood and lymph in animals. Examples of transport proteins are serum albumin. This will transport heme and fatty acids, and channel proteins and carrier proteins. So what about motor proteins? These proteins are involved in the contraction and relaxation of the muscle. It includes actin, myosin, kinesin, and dynein. And toxins, these proteins are generally produced by bacteria. They include diphtheria toxin, pseudomonas, and exotoxin and ribosome inactivating proteins. They help bacteria to attack and kill their host organism by creating cytotoxicity. And coming to the nucleic acids are macromolecules present in cells and viruses, and they are involved in the storage and transfer of genetic information. The nucleic acid was first discovered by the Friedrich Miescher in the nuclei of leukocytes, and structure. Later, further studies showed that it's a mixture of basic proteins and phosphorus containing organic acids. And structurally, nucleic acids are polymers of nucleotides, which are phosphate esters of nucleotides. And the nucleotides are composed of three components: a nitrogenous base, these are heterocyclic plan and aromatic molecules, and see about the lipids. Lipids are organic compounds that are insoluble and poorly soluble in water but soluble in organic solvents such as ether, benzene, or chloroform. They are hydrophobic and structurally composed of a chain of hydrocarbons, and they are chemically more diverse than other biomolecules, and they are primarily involved in membrane structure and energy storage. Classes of lipids and their functions. Different classes of lipids include fatty acids. These are the simplest forms of lipids. They are composed of hydrocarbon chains, 4 to 36 carbons and one acidic group. They can be linear or branched, and these lipids composed of 4 to 36 carbons. It is one acidic group. They can be linear or branched. Moreover, fatty acids are the building blocks of other types of lipids. Waxes, these are esters of fatty acids, and long chain alcohols. They are composed of hydrocarbon chains. There is a 14 to 36 carbons. They are synthesized by many plants and animals. However, the best known wax is B-wax, which is composed of an ester of palmitic acid with a tricontanol alcohol. Phospholipids, these are composed of fatty acids and attachment platform for fatty acids, and phosphate and an alcohol attached to phosphate. They are part of the cell membrane of the organisms. Glycolipids, these are lipids containing saccharide groups. They are constituting of the cell membrane and are involved in signal transduction. Steroids, these are complex derivatives of triterpenes. For example, cholesterol is an constituent of the cell membrane and acts as a precursor for the biosynthesis of steroid hormones and bile acids. Eicosanoids, they arise from the 20 carbons of polyunsaturated fatties. They perform several functions. For example, prostaglandins stimulate uterine contraction and lower blood pressure. Leukotrienes are involved in chemotaxis and inflammation, and thromboxanes act as a vasoconstrictors and stimulate platelet aggregation. Other than these lipid molecules, some plasma lipoproteins also execute. They are structurally a lipid protein complex, and these are some of the examples of the lipid proteins. That is chylomicrons, low density lipoproteins, and high density lipoproteins. Conclusion of this was biomolecules are vital for life as it aids organisms to grow, sustain, and reproduce. They are involved in the building organisms of single cells to complex being like humans by interacting with each other. Their diversity in their shape and structure provides diversity in their functions. The study of these biomolecules is known as biochemistry, and biochemistry deals with the study of their structures, functions, interactions, and reactions. And these biological molecules are still a mystery, and current advanced techniques are being used to discover more molecules and understand their role in life sustaining process. Thank you. And so today we see saw about biomolecules, and biomolecules as classified into macromolecules, like what to say, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, uh, and nucleic acids. Fats is nothing but that is lipids, and so we saw about the types of biomolecules. And what about the carbohydrates at all? Carbohydrates we are obtaining from the fruits, vegetables, and foods like stuffed foods, etc.